Hello, I'm Gloria Makaranko. Well, weathering change and constantly adapting, that is the new normal for so many of us in the city since the pandemic hit. This is our Vancouver. Coming up, switching from film to sports to stay in business. And help from a safe distance. The wellness show goes online. But first, a touring circus performer makes the best of having to come home. Now imagine a life in the circus, touring the world with Cirque du Soleil, and then the pandemic hits. Well, gymnast Laura-Ann Chong is back in Vancouver now, keeping in shape and teaching. Laura-Ann, hello there.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I see the giant hula hoop behind you. Where are you?
I am in Langley at the Circus Lab, and it's a facility where they get to train new artists.
So how much of your time now is taken up with teaching?
Currently, I'm volunteering about 4 or 5 hours a week. Right now, it's just something to keep my mind busy and also stay inspired as well.
Okay, and what about keeping in top shape? I mean, I'm sure that performing with Cirque du Soleil is incredibly demanding. So what does that require of your body?
Well, when the pandemic hit, it was actually a moment of reflection on how we can take the time to recover. Both physically, of course, because as you just mentioned, it's very demanding, but also mentally. We've been on, or me, myself, have been on the road for the past 7 years, constantly touring, changing culture environments. And so it was kind of a nice time to just to slow down. But I actually decided once we found out that shows weren't going to be back anytime soon, I decided to get an ankle surgery that I had been putting off for about 5 years. So currently I'm actually recovering from that and just doing a lot of physiotherapy and trying to get back in shape for that.
All right, so what does your recovery look like?
Well, the first, I think it was 2.5 months, I wasn't really weight bearing at all. For an artist, an acrobat, gymnast, that was quite interesting to go through. It really makes you appreciate every little step you can take. And then after that, I really started physiotherapy with my physio in New West. And then also I was doing a treatment called blood flow restriction therapy, as well as hydrotherapy out in Burnaby. So it was quite intensive. I was doing physio and seeing therapists about 3-4 times a week, just to kind of stay on top. And I still have probably a few more months of recovery before I'm fully back.
Well, I mean, I can see where the timing actually worked out in your favor, that it's kind of mandatory downtime. So while you are recovering and still doing a little bit of teaching and advising, anything else you're doing to keep yourself busy while you're furloughed?
Oh, definitely. As we know, the pandemic really took a toll on everybody. For my industry in particular, it was really difficult for people to leave the tour lifestyle and just being around those type of creative people to all of a sudden having to go back to home. But some people they don't have homes. You know, I was very fortunate where my parents were able to take me in. So I've been living with at my mom's house and being able to be with family. But there are members from touring who don't have that stability. And so it really struck a nerve on how isolated people started to feel. So me and some colleagues from Cirque, we decided to start Project Lumiere. And it's basically there to help facilitate connection, unity, and keep each other motivated and connected through these times, no matter how far apart we are across the world.
So what do you do for each other?
Well, right now I'm starting this series called The Pivot, where we're basically interviewing and highlighting individuals who, instead of being out on stage performing or helping run shows, they've been able to figure out what their transferable skills are and apply them in a different way in our new normals, whether it's running virtual live events or taking it into a more corporate setting, and just trying to help each other reinvent themselves, and staying motivated by having different panel discussions on motivation or basically anything that can help us stay together and just keep our mental health intact as well.
Well, I can see where that's important. What would you say are your transferable skills?
Well, the last few years, even on tour, I was really interested in public relations. And I started shadowing our publicist on tour, which was an amazing opportunity because I got to work in many different cultures and communities as we were traveling with Cirque. And so definitely that's been something that I've started to hone in a little bit more on. I was always kind of the social butterfly and loved to hear about everyone's stories. And so being able to communicate that with whoever is in our target audience, that's something that I'm trying to improve. And back in the fall, I actually took a PR certificate program at Simon Fraser University, remotely, of course, because of COVID. But that was amazing because we got to learn from local professionals who are currently working in the fields. And now I have like this huge network of mentors that I can reach out to whenever I need to.
Well, good for you. Really, that is admirable. And why would you say it's important for especially for active and creative people to stay active and creative in these times?
If we don't, then we really lose ourselves. I think that was one of the biggest battles, is finding or seeing my friends and seeing my colleagues and even myself feeling like we lost a sense of identity. When the pandemic hit, like we lost kind of the purpose of who we were. And that's the biggest thing that I want to try and support, is just making sure that no one feels like they're nobody, because everyone's worth it and everyone has something to share with the world. And yeah, it's just always something that I've tried to do, is help support people when I feel like they might be struggling with something, or put a smile on their face.
Well, you do put a smile on our faces. And again, we get to go to the Cirque du Soleil shows and just see, the finished product without really appreciating, I guess, the commitment that goes into the performances. So thank you for what you do, Laura-Ann, and all the best with your recovery.
Oh, thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Harvey at Second Beach in Stanley Park, and this is our Vancouver.
All right, it's time for one of our favorite features. This is where we showcase a number of the photographs sent in by you, our audience. First up, Catherine Zimmerman was in Minikata Regional Park recently and took this so serene and beautiful. Looks like a painting. Thanks very much, Catherine. And Ronald Klassen was on Mount Seymour and took in that amazing snowy view that many of us have come to love. Thank you, Ronald. And finally, Nanaimo had some winter weather recently, and it was breathtaking. Vanessa Jasser captured a fantastic moment in the snow. Vanessa, thanks so much to you. And we'd love it if you did send us more. It's easy. Just email your photographs to us, bcphotos@cbc.ca. That's bcphotos@cbc.ca. Now, what are the trends that stick in your memory from this past decade? Remember the cup song, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge? How about flossing? Well, CBC Kids News contributor Alexia Sabao looks at how trends are formed and asks, what's next?
Perfect. Hi, and welcome back to the first episode of Hey Alexia, What's Trending in 2021. Going into a new year, I thought that it would be fun to look back on trends in the last decade and cover some of the best ones, and even try to make some predictions of my own for ones we might see in 2021. Let's rewind and kick things off with a blast from the past. With all the new music that comes out every year, obviously there's gonna be one or two viral sensations in there. For example, Gangnam Style, Baby Shark, What Does the Fox Say, and Old Town Road, just to name a few. But the one that I want to remind you of brings us back to 2012 when the movie Pitch Perfect came out. It goes a little something like this. When I'm gone, when I'm gone. Haven't done that in a while. The cup song was everywhere. Kids and adults were all trying to learn it. It's like a TikTok challenge before TikTok challenges were even a thing. Speaking of challenges, a big challenge in 2014 that you might remember is the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. This challenge was originally created by Pete Frates and Pat Quinn. Unfortunately, Pete passed away in 2019 and Pat passed away in 2020. Both had ALS, and the goal of this challenge was to raise awareness to the disease and also raise money for the research. Everyone and their mother was dumping the ice-cold water onto themselves and nominating their friends to do the same. You might remember some of your favorite celebrities taking part of this challenge. Kim Kardashian, Taylor Swift, One Direction, I Got You One Direction's fans, Bill Gates, and even Kermit the Frog. The ALS Ice Bucket Challenge proved that social media can really bring people together, but it can also tear people apart, like, dun dun dun, the dress. The dress in question went viral after a woman named Cecilia Bleasdale posted it on her Facebook. What color does it look like to you? Some people see it as blue and black, while others see it as white and gold. Everyone was debating this on social media, even celebrities popped in to give their opinions. Not to be controversial, but I personally see it as blue and black. No, it's definitely white and gold. What? Who even are you? I'm trying to film a video. Get out of here. Okay, rude. Anyways, back to past trends. Do you guys remember the shoot, Orange Justice, dabbing, and of course, the floss? Yeah, no one's catching me doing the floss on camera ever. Can you pull up a clip of that? Let's go! You might recognize this dance from Fortnite, but the original creator's name is Russell Horning. You might also know him as the Backpack Kid. The floss started to trend in 2017, and Russell was even invited onto Saturday Night Live with Katy Perry to perform the dance. There's even been a song to come out about it, and it's like, I be flossing. And there's been some complications with him in Fortnite. The legal drama is about whether Fortnite had the rights to use the dance in their game or not. Talking about drama and dances, a similar issue is happening on TikTok. It's an ongoing conversation about crediting the original creators of these dances. We saw this with one of the most popular dances, Renegade. The Renegade was a huge thing in the beginning of 2020. It was even performed at the NBA All-Star Games. The original creator of the dance is a 14-year-old girl named Jalea Harmon, but not many people knew that. So shout out to you, Jalea. You started one of the biggest trends of 2020. Back to 2021 and the trends that we might see this year. But before I make my predictions, let's talk to an expert. I decided to call up Jim Carroll, a Canadian futurist whose job it is to predict future trends based off what's happened in the past. Futurist sounds like such a cool job name. Just tell me a little bit about exactly what a futurist is.
Well, I study the future. I found myself falling into this very odd career in which I've been advising organizations like NASA, Disney, the World Bank, Burger King, you name it, global organizations on trends, what comes next, what's going to happen in our world. So I'm going to go over back to my desk so we can continue talking and bring myself through the spaceship here. And you know, you're talking about memes, and it's absolutely fascinating because that's all part of what is driving our world of trends today.
What makes the big trends become these super big trends and get spread everywhere?
It's part of this connectivity, and people use memes simply to drive humor. In other cases, the Ice Bucket Challenge, for example, we want to feel good about our role in the world. We want to give back. We're all in this complex COVID world. We're all trying to cope every day. We're all trying to get in a headspace we can survive this. And so we are drawn to humor, little diversions of time that help us to get through. TikTok itself has become a meme generating machine. TikTok videos are really short. They're 20 seconds, 30 seconds. They align to the fact that our attention spans have disappeared.
Do you have any tips for me for predicting trends in 2021?
You've got to track a lot of offbeat people. I think the challenge is a lot of people read information and follow information of people who are just like them. The more offbeat information you follow, the better. Become an information sponge, just an open mind, and realizing that the world you're going to be in 10 years is not going to look anything like it does today.
Jim had a lot of good advice for me to predict some future trends, so let me give this a try. I took Jim's advice and researched what's going to happen in 2021, like scheduled events, and I took a look at what's happening in the world right now. US politics has been trending everywhere for the first few weeks of 2021. Joe Biden is getting sworn in soon as president, so are we going to see a resurgence of the Biden-Obama romance? Are we going to find out more about Joe Biden's mystery grandson? The Super Bowl and the Olympics are also this year. Are we going to get some memes with the Weeknd's performance like we did last year with Shakira and the weird tongue thing? And with all the social justice campaigns that we saw in 2020, will that message be spread at the Olympics? Well, I guess we'll have to check back at the end of 2021 to see if any of my predictions were correct. But until then, Happy New Year. It can only go up from here, right? Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you back here in the next episode of Hey Alexio, What's Trending?
Coming up, alarming news out of the annual Monarch butterfly count. Johanna Wagstaff explains why there is a massive decline.
How many times must a man use his ears before he can hear people cry? Well, the answer, my friend, blowed in the wind. The answer is blowed in the wind.
The monarch is one of the best known species of butterfly in the world. In Canada, ranges from Alberta to Newfoundland, with extensive breeding in southern Ontario and southern Quebec, and there's even a small population of monarchs in southern British Columbia. These orange and black beauties, though, are one step closer to extinction. That's because the number of western monarch butterflies wintering along the California coast has just plummeted to a new record low. A recent count by the Xerces Society recorded fewer than 2,000 of them, a massive decline from the millions that used to cluster in the trees along the northern California coast in the 80s. The western monarch butterfly heads south from the Pacific Northwest to California each year, returning to the same places, even the same trees where they cluster to keep warm. Generally, they arrive at the beginning of November and spread out across the country once warmer weather arrives in March. Now, on the east side of the Rockies, it's a different monarch population, but one that has also been seeing dramatic declines. Scientists estimate that that population has fallen about 80% since the 90s, but the drop-off in the west has been the steepest. The Xerces Society is a nonprofit environmental organization that focuses on the conservation of butterflies and bees. Last year, they recorded about 29,000 butterflies, about the same as the year before, 27,000, an all-time low. But to only see 2,000 of them this year is incredibly alarming. In fact, their absence was heartbreaking for volunteers hoping to catch a glimpse of the awe-inspiring clusters of monarch butterflies. Scientists say the critically low levels in western states mainly because of the destruction to their milkweed habitat.
In terms of relationship to the plant, it's absolutely key to have these available to monarchs. No milkweed, no monarchs. It's that simple. The larvae absolutely require the milkweed to feed upon.
Along with farming, climate change is one of the main drivers of their threatened extinction. One additional factor this year may have been the massive wildfires throughout the U.S. West. That may have influenced their breeding and migration patterns. In December, U.S. federal officials declared the monarch butterfly a candidate for threatened or endangered status, but said it would take several years because of the many other species awaiting that designation. Until then, individuals can help. Scientists have identified the milkweed plant as the most important action humans can take to help support the threatened monarch population. By planting them, you're helping to fuel their migration on their path south. And now you're science smart. If you have a science question on your mind, send me a tweet and I'll try to get it answered.
Johanna, thanks very much. You are watching Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Well, the city's annual wellness show has had to go online this year, of course, but the fitness classes, the seminars, and the exhibitor demonstrations are still on from a safe distance. The show runs January 31st until Valentine's Day online. Well, Dean Blaigneau owns TMRW Foods, or Tomorrow Foods. It's a local meatless protein company making all sorts of products. So, Dean, hello to you.
Hi, Gloria.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Okay, so gearing up for the wellness show. What are you going to be doing?
Okay, cool. So I thought I could tell you a little bit about what we do. And then I've got our team here. So this is Justin, our product development chef, and Esme, our marketing person. So we're all in the room together. And he's going to do a simple recipe using one of our products that we're launching next month. And then we'll just chat a little bit about our range of products and take it from there.
Okay, so what has he got on the grill right now?
So what Justin has right now is our original brat. So this product was inspired by a South African sausage called boerewors, and what he's going to be making today is a boerewors roll. Now, I grew up with this, and what makes it unique is that it's got some really good notes of coriander, cloves, nutmeg, and cinnamon. And then the way that you compile it all together is really what makes it a boerewors roll. Gloria, yeah, so I think in general, people are becoming a lot more thoughtful about the way that they consume. People are not necessarily immediately moving over to fully plant-based diets or fully vegan diets, but I think we all understand that we need to change the way we think about the way we consume, and that there may be simple ways to do it without necessarily needing to completely rattle the way that you live or the way that you grew up or the way that food is attached to your culture or your traditions, right? And I think that what companies like ours and other great companies in the space are doing is that we're really trying to create products that make that a more seamless process, that allow you to have the same experience. It just doesn't come from an animal. I think a lot of people seem perplexed by the idea that vegan products would want to replicate animal protein products. But I think what people sometimes don't think about is the fact that, vegan people don't necessarily stop eating animal products because they don't like them. They want to have a better impact on the world. And what we want to do is to be able to create products that allow people to still enjoy the bite, the flavor, the way that it sizzles, all those things, all those organoleptic properties that make it as enjoyable as it is for people who still consume meat, but at the same time have less of an impact on the planet. And this is becoming far more common knowledge than it used to be. And I think that's why you're starting to see this real momentum in the space.
Okay, so work your magic there for us, why don't you? Take us through how this all comes together.
Awesome, no problem. So Justin is going to take it from here for a little bit.
Sure, yeah. So as you can see, when I put open the sausage here,
we can't really hear Justin, so I think you're going to have to talk us through it. Okay, Dean?
Okay, no problem. So they can't hear you, unfortunately. Sorry, Justin. Okay, so firstly, as you can see, the product browns really nicely. The crust becomes, or the casing becomes really crispy. So we put an edible casing that gives it a really nice snap. And we wanted to do that so that it has that really cool property that normal sausages have and plant-based sausages haven't had that much up to date. When you look at the kind of the crust slice of it as well, we've gone for more artisanal grind. So we really wanted to have something that gives a really good bite. And also, you won't necessarily believe it when you look at it or when you try it, but we also squeeze a lot of awesome whole foods ingredients like kidney beans, split peas, and quinoa into it, just to give it that real balance of kind of awesome tasting, but also nutrient dense. So Justin's going to now start putting it together. So a boerewors roll is really, really simple. You've got grainy Dijon mustard that you put on, as liberal as you'd like, some caramelized onions, and then a tomato relish. Some people use kind of cherry tomatoes and balsamic and reduce it, but any which way you can buy it from the store, however you like. And then sausage in the middle, and that's basically it. It seems really simple. It is really simple, but it tastes phenomenal. And this is really what we kind of grew up with. This was a staple in my early days because it was pretty cheap. And we used to get these big rolls of it, and you would just throw it on the fire, and everybody would eat from one big kind of long roll. So we thought it would be kind of cool to do this for today.
Vegan sausage dog. Okay, I can see where the options are endless, really, and depends on how you want to dress that. But Dean, thank you very much for taking us through it, and enjoy the wellness show, okay?
Awesome. Thank you very much.
The 2021 Wellness Show runs online from January 31st to Valentine's Day. You can go to their website to see the list of demonstrations and fitness classes and virtual meet and greets. Attendance is free.
Hi, I'm Lindsay, and this is our Vancouver.
If you're seeking some arts and culture and events you can attend safely, the Crimson Coast Dance Society will host online events every Saturday in February related to Black History Month. Just go to their website for tickets and more information. And Dine Out Vancouver is on. With COVID-19 precautions in place, 330 restaurants are offering discounted prices for their special Dine Out menus. Takeout is also an option, and there are also virtual talks and cooking classes with local chefs. It's a full month-long festival, so go to dineoutvancouver.com for more information.
Hey, I'm Grant Lawrence from CBC Music, here to let you in on an amazing project by a Montreal artist named Dominique Fils-Aimé. A few years ago, this incredible singer boldly embarked on a journey to release a trilogy of albums that explore the history of African American music, from the slave songs of the 19th century to the modern R&B of the 21st. And it all started with the album Nameless in 2018.
I'm not breathing what you want from me. I'm not. I just cannot step out, cannot step out, cannot step away from the light. As it was gushing before me. Cannot step on, cannot step on, cannot step on the ground, the line. As it was lying before me.
Yes, that was Nameless from Dominique Fils-Aimé from her first album of the same name, which confronted historical silences and sorrows from the Black experience in North America. In 2019, this Haitian Quebecois star released her breakout second album. It's called Stay Tuned, and it delves into the civil rights movement of the 60s through jazz. That album won the 2020 Juno Award for Jazz Album of the Year.
Yeah, the fire's still jumping, and the curtains are bright. Your daddy's poor and your mama's ugly, so screaming men do cry. Do cry. Do cry. Do cry.
That is Dominique Fils-Aimé, one of Canada's brightest musical lights, with her song Big Man Do Cry from that Juno-winning album Stay Tuned. Now, Dominique returns in 2021 with the third album in that trilogy, and it's one of the most anticipated new records of the year. The record is called 3 Little Words, and it embraces the emotional lushness of soul music from yesterday and tomorrow.
I got some real blessings to share around. Having you by my side makes it all worthwhile. While we wait for the world to change. While we wait for the world to change. While we're hoping for the change, being the change, seeing the change.
That is just a stunning new song from Montreal artist Dominique Fils-Aimé. It is called While We Wait, and it straddles the eras and almost serves as a kind of part 2 to Sam Cooke's A Change Is Gonna Come. Dominique Fils-Aimé's new album is called 3 Little Words, and it comes out on February 12th. Her song While We Wait is the tune that you need to add to your playlist for this week. I'm Grant Lawrence, host of the CBC Music Top 20, and I'll check in with you again next week.
Coming up, learning to live with much less. Stores and services near college and university campuses are suffering. Hi there, welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Well, the hallways and lecture halls of universities are very quiet these days. Many post-secondary institutions are offering virtual learning due to the pandemic. And as Tina Lovegreen tells us, those empty campuses mean many businesses who rely on student life for their bread and butter are barely hanging on.
How are you, Laura?
Around campus, everyone knows Parminder Parhar.
Hello, David.
And he knows
Thank you, Laura.
everyone.
You take care. Thank you so much.
Parminder remembers everybody who comes by, and he makes you feel really special. And especially if you're coming here and you don't have family or friends here, that's a big deal.
For 25 years, Parhar and his wife have been serving up coffee to students and staff at Simon Fraser University. They have 3 locations at the Burnaby campus, but these days only one is open.
We never had a time where there wasn't a lineup. But now, sometime, not only minutes, hours go by and we don't see anybody.
With lectures mostly online now because of the pandemic, the campus is awfully quiet.
Well, right now it seems like a ghost town.
And Parhar's business is taking a big hit.
We probably do only maybe, best case scenario, probably 5% of what we did before.
Even businesses not on campus are feeling the pinch. Riceburger is a 5-minute drive from UBC, and everything from its kimchi fries to its decor was designed with university students in mind.
It was a little bit of a kick to the groin at first, because we had invested so much in student life that when there wasn't that many students on campus, there was okay, how do we do that? How do we get back? How do we get back?
They pivoted to target more families by offering promotions and rely heavily on food delivery apps. Universities across the province are also seeing impacts to their budgets.
UBC is projecting a deficit of $100 million this fiscal year. Some of the reasons for the lost revenue: canceled conferences, reduced occupancy for student housing, and the shutdown of restaurants, museums, galleries, and gardens. Plus, the additional costs of offering courses online and the necessary cleaning that's required on campus.
Recovering from the deficit will be a multi-year project for the university. Stronger than anticipated student demand may help, but they're also looking at minimizing hiring and reducing discretionary spending. In the meantime, Parhar will continue doing what he does best.
There's nothing to do sitting at home, so better be doing something meaningful.
Serving up small cups that help his customers
Thank you.
and his business
You have a good day.
through these tough times. Tina Lovegreen, CBC News, Burnaby.
Tina, thank you so much for that story. Well, another business has met the pandemic and the new protocols head on. The Rio Theatre had to shut down 2 months ago, but a recent rebranding as a sports bar means the venue can open. And as John Hernandez tells us, the owner says she's doing it to send the province a clear message.
It's showtime at the Rio Theatre, but it's not movies that are coming out of this projector.
I think it's a bit more of a statement than anything.
Probably safer here than the sports bar.
We're all Googling the NHL and the NFL and just trying to figure out what are these sports things.
Today, it's hockey and UFC on the big screen. Owner Corinne Lee pivoting the business from movie theater to sports bar, a move done to keep the prized independent cinema afloat and protest public health measures.
Our marquee says, screw the arts, we're a sports bar now. And that's because the arts have been getting screwed.
Movie theaters were shut down in November, part of a sweeping public health order banning events to curb the spread of COVID-19.
It does include events at hotels, restaurants, bars, and does include movie theaters and cinemas.
The move was highly criticized by industry stakeholders who contend there have been few reports of transmission inside theaters. The forced closure, a heavy blow to a theater that's had its fair share of challenges in the past. Just 2 years ago, a 7th-month fundraising campaign saved it from redevelopment.
To see all these bars open, and especially sports bars that are playing, Canucks games and whatnot on their big screen or their TV screens, it was really a slap in the face.
Today, pushback from city and public health inspectors before the doors opened, who advised Lee to make some last-minute changes, even after she says her COVID protocols were already approved.
We're going ahead today, and I guess I'll be hearing from the health authorities.
Not enough to stop tonight's 2 sold-out shows and the passionate crowd who lined up for them.
The Rio is a national and city treasure. Whatever they advertise themselves as, I'm coming here.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. It's very creative, right? Everybody's got to come up with new ways to stay opening during these times.
Times that have tested just about every business, even ones as resilient as the Rio. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
Canadian health officials are worried and warning about a new and growing pandemic danger. At least 3 significant coronavirus variants have been identified around the world, and 2 of them already have a toehold in this country. Rafi Boudjikanian has more.
From the variant first detected in the UK in this long-term care home in Barrie, Ontario, to that one and the variant first seen in South Africa, present in Alberta, including a case that does not appear travel-related.
Let me be blunt. This now is very concerning.
The COVID-19 variants are in Canada. One study out of Simon Fraser University says with its higher transmission rates, the variant first found in the UK could be especially dangerous, potentially 20,000 cases per day by March, if no further measures are taken by then. Its authors say governments should act now.
Defining non-essential travel and really limiting it, so reducing the number of international travelers coming back into Canada or coming into Canada. Making sure when people do come that we're a bit stricter about what we ask people to do. Right now we ask people to isolate at home. Household members aren't asked to isolate.
But no new restrictions yet from Ottawa.
Because we already have some of the strongest measures anywhere, one just has to remember that we are reliant on supply chains from around the world.
Some provinces are taking steps. Quebec Provincial Police will make sure returning international travelers respect their quarantine. Like others, that province wants more from Ottawa.
It's time to act. We can either ban non-essential travels or isolate travelers in hotels.
We are going to amend our public health orders to ensure that anyone returning to Manitoba, including Western Canada, must self-isolate for a period of 14 days.
Alberta says not a bad idea, but it won't follow suit just yet.
And this is something that can remind us all that traveling outside of our home province right now is not something we should be doing unless for essential purposes.
Coming up, how the variant strains of COVID-19 might mean more restrictions on our outside gatherings. You are watching Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, health officials are now confirming several cases of the variant first reported in the UK and several from the variant from South Africa. Well, with new, more transmissible variants spreading in this province, the CBC's Corey Correa is asking if tougher restrictions could be coming.
Along with other respiratory viruses, the novel coronavirus spreads more easily in the winter. As the cold weather pushes people indoors for prolonged periods with poor ventilation, transmission becomes more likely. So health officials have advised people to move interactions outdoors.
Where we had some leeway in the summer, when we had lower rates and lower transmission, we now need to pull back from. And that any of those interactions should be done in a very safe, low-risk manner, such as small numbers and outside.
You can keep your distance, you're outside, you're not in a crowded area, so it's just a good way to get out of the house.
I think outside is kind of like a false safety just because people feel comfortable not wearing their mask and not sanitizing everywhere.
It seems like it's safer and I feel more comfortable.
Researchers say when transmission does occur outdoors, it's likely because people aren't following public health guidelines. UBC professor at the School of Population and Public Health, Michael Brower, says being outside is generally low risk.
So the vast majority of transmission is indoors. When it does happen outdoors, it's very likely that those are people not wearing masks and very close together.
He says wearing masks while out walking, jogging, and cycling is helpful, but not necessary for such low-risk activities.
When people are moving, that is going to be safer in general, just because you're getting more airflow, and so that's just like having ventilation indoors. You're sort of creating your own little micro winds.
Where they should be concerned is the events leading up to, in between, or after exercise.
Certainly activities where you're close to people, though, that's where you need to be concerned. So if we're talking skiing itself, wouldn't be a particular concern, but waiting in line. It's mostly those kinds of those things that are related to the activities.
All that being said, while health officials say they are still very concerned about the new coronavirus variants, their advice remains the same as it has for months. Practice physical distancing and frequent hand washing. Avoid non-essential travel. Isolate if you have symptoms. And where appropriate, wear a mask. Corey Correa, CBC News, Vancouver.
Corey, thank you so much for that story. Now, this week, back in 1995, was a somber one for friends and fans of the local punk band DOA. Drummer Ken Jensen was killed in a house fire. Peter Granger covered the fire at the time and the impact on one of the city's best-known musical acts.
A fan of Vancouver punk band DOA has placed a flower to mark the place where Ken Jensen died. It was in this rented house in East Van where some DOA members and friends had been partying early Sunday morning. Someone accidentally dropped a lit cigarette on the couch, which caught fire as everyone slept.
It just became painfully apparent that he wasn't coming out. I thought they had him around the corner, taking care of him over there, you know. But
the family cat woke everyone up except Jensen. There was no fire insurance and no smoke alarms.
And I want to say that everyone should please get smoke alarms and put your batteries in them and use them and stay close.
The loss of drummer Jensen is just the latest in a string of tragedies for DOA. Their previous drummer Ken Montgomery died of a heroin overdose 3 months ago, as did one of their roadies.
Gary Taylor, an old friend and merchandiser and touring partner of DOA, has also passed away about 3 months ago.
Do you think any of this can be linked to lifestyle?
Absolutely. Yeah. Certainly not in Ken's case, I don't think. It's just a tragic accident, but yeah, both with Ken and Gary, yeah.
Phone calls of support and condolence have been pouring into DOA's management from Europe and North America as word of the tragedy spreads.
Ken was a very good, smart, upright young man, a very healthy guy. We all loved him dearly. He touched a lot of people. He wasn't, he doesn't fit your paradigm of what a drummer is. He was a very good, upstanding young man who helped out a lot of people. And unfortunately, the basement of the house contained the recording equipment and all of the tapes and all of DOA's gear. And a lot of it was damaged or destroyed in the fire as well.
Half a dozen bands, including No Means No and SNFU, have already agreed to play a benefit for DOA to help replace their gear. The human loss can't be so easily replaced.
CBC Vancouver is so lucky to have award-winning photographer Ben Nelms on staff. Here are a few images of the week we had, captured in only the way Ben can. And that is all for Our Vancouver this week. I hope you can join me weekday afternoons on CBC Radio 1 for On the Coast. Oh, goodbye for now.